You know, it's actually not easy preaching to you every week. It's not easy. It's not easy because sometimes you come and you're not interested. And that can be very dispiriting for us as preachers. Sometimes we're not very interesting as preachers, and that might be dispiriting for you. There's, I suppose, we try hard to find a hook to grab your attention at the beginning, and then we try to find something interesting to say to hold your attention. And then, for me, the core is that whatever is said would stir your hearts, would stir up the Spirit in you, would warm your heart so that after coming in here, you leave differently after having had some sort of encounter with God. And to do that week in and week out, that's not an easy thing to do. And this week, we encountered this gospel about us being salt of the earth and light of the world. And I came across this, and yeah, nothing came. You know, I've been preaching this gospel for 20 years, and some of you have been hearing this gospel for over 20 years, and have probably heard every connotation of this gospel. And I was just thinking, what can I say that would be that would grab your attention and that would stir up? And last night I ended up speaking drivel because I just thought I don't have anything to say. And perhaps it's because there's that desire to look for something interesting, to be interesting in some way. And reading St. Paul's first letter, St. Paul comes to us and he says, my preaching, I didn't come with any show of oratory or philosophical discussion. You know, he wasn't tickling the philosophical interests of his speakers. That's not what he was about. He said, I came purely to preach the power of the Holy Spirit, the power of the gospel, the power of God at work, to preach Jesus Christ crucified. He wasn't there to make it interesting. Very straightforward message. And so we tend, as priests, to complicate the message. St. Paul wasn't about complicating the message. The Pharisees had a habit of complicating the message. You know, the 10 Commandments are straightforward. And they added another 663, I think it was, precepts to it to make it complicated and difficult. And it actually made it difficult to see the true meaning of the gospel. And when it came to living the law of the Lord, they did it in in such a way, a very hypocritical way. So it was all about them. So they made it difficult to understand, and what you did understand, they made it all about them. But in the first reading, this is what God is about. This is what Jesus is about. Share your bread with the hungry. Is that difficult? Is that hard to understand? Share your bread with the hungry. If you see somebody who's hungry, give them something to eat. Shelter the homeless poor. Somebody is homeless. Do something to help them have a home to live in. Clothe the naked. Somebody who's cold, give them what they need to keep them warm. Somebody's in need, help them. That isn't difficult. That's not complicated. Do away with the yoke. Don't make life difficult for other people. Do away with the clenched fist. Don't fight. And the wicked word. Be careful how you speak. That's not complicated. It's not complicated. St. Paul preached this message, and he was able to continue to preach this message over and over again when he found it, when he was resisted time and time again and had to go through all sorts of sufferings. But he managed to continue preaching that clear message. We find it difficult to give somebody a piece of bread, to help somebody for who knows what reasons. We'll have all sorts of excuses. But at the end of the day, Paul continued to do it because, why? Why did he do it? Because he had an encounter with Jesus. He had an encounter with the love of God made visible in Jesus Christ. And that love of God was poured into his heart. And he poured it out onto other people. He encountered love and gave love. That is not complicated. Jesus, when the Pharisees making things complicated, which is the greatest of the commandments of the 663, which is the greatest? Jesus made it very simple. The greatest is to love God. And the next one is like it, to love your. That ain't difficult. That isn't complicated. It's simple. The gospel is simple. It is profound and it's simple. Be salt for the earth. Love God. Love your neighbor. Be light to the world. Love God. Love your neighbor. Folks, it isn't complicated. It's simple. You and I, we have really, I think, two main things to do. Two main things to do. Love and forgive. Love and forgive. Love and forgive. Love and forgive. That's it.